Thanks for staying with us. We've had a series of programs recently talking about many great things going on at Indian River State College. And today we're going to talk about their business development.
Absolutely.
EDI.
EDI. Yes, sir.
And with us is Tom Kindred. He is the entrepreneur in residence. Thanks for joining us today, Tom.
Thank you, Ed. Appreciate the opportunity. Great opportunity, and you know, appreciate you giving us this time to talk about what we call the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Indian River State College. Yes, sir.
Okay, and that's a place that has so many business resources. Let's talk first about which campus is it on?
Well, actually, the services and the resources provided by the EDI are really region-wide, all 4 counties. Okeechobee, Martin, St. Lucie, and Indian River. You know, we have SBDC consultants on each one of those campuses. Small Business Development Center. We talk a lot in acronyms in academia,
sure.
So correct me when I use one of those. But SBDC is the Small Business Development Center. We have they have consultants at each one of the campuses. But absolutely, the resources provided by the EDI are campus-wide, region-wide.
Okay, so you're the entrepreneur in residence there.
Yes, sir.
So I can take it to mean you know something about entrepreneurism and business?
I know a little something. Actually, my background is I spent 25 years in private enterprise right here along the Research and Treasure Coast. Owned and operated a number of businesses. And what I tell folks all the time since I became involved in this, the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute, I tell folks all the time that as a private business person, had I really taken the time to learn about and become engaged in what I refer to as a very powerful and robust program at the college, I am confident I really could have been a better manager, owner, and operator. The program is very powerful, and the EDI is made up really of 3 to 4 main entities under that EDI umbrella. You've got what I'm primarily responsible for is the business incubation program, and we are a textbook business incubator. We work with startups, early stage firms, bring them resources, assistance, and support with the goal of improving their chances of success once they launch into the marketplace. Then we have the SBDC, which is the Small Business Development Center. That is made up of about 8 or 9 consultants. They are part of a network across the state of Florida of about 40 plus SBDC centers. They are funded by the SBA, a federal program, and Small Business Administration. They provide business assistance, mentoring, coaching. I came up with a little slogan about our program called Engaged at Every Stage of Enterprise. So no matter whether you're a startup or a 2nd or 3rd generation business, you know, the SBDC can provide you with resources. And then finally, at the top end of our program is what we call the CCTI, which is the Corporate and Community Training Institute. Again, I like to refer to them as one of the best kept secrets in our community, but the CCTI provides customized training for businesses in our region. So say you've got a business out there wants to do some HR training or some customer service training or even specialized training. The CCTI can help you build the curriculum, help you find the instructor, and then facilitate the training either at our site or either out at the business's site.
I know our city, the City of Port St. Lucie Human Resources Department, has taken advantage of that in the past.
Absolutely.
We've had training through that, and it was fantastic because I took a couple of classes and it was really good.
Right, and the final element of our program is what we refer to as applied research. So it's really where we take, we can actually conduct research through the resources we have at the college, the many resources we have at the college, and actually we try to convert some of that research into potential businesses that we can spin out of the college. So that's the 4 parts to what we call the EDI.
And it really goes across the board at all levels of business, from startup through this.
Absolutely, engaged at every stage of enterprise. And I'll tell you a little story. I was out one day for lunch, had a 2nd or 3rd generation business owner kind of tapped me on the shoulder at lunch, and he said, "Hey Tom, you know, I've got some people are beginning to show some interest in buying my business, but you know, I really don't understand how to price it, what the value is on that business. Is that something you guys could help us with?" I said, "Absolutely." So I brought him in, introduced him to the SBDC folks. They ran probably 4 different models on how to price his business, and that would have cost that individual thousands of dollars at the very minimum. And the SBDC provides all of those types of services at no cost.
Wow, free. Fantastic.
Free.
any person who's in business should be wise in business and recognize the value of that. How could you not take advantage of this kind of assistance?
Well, again, thanks to you and programs like Port St. Lucie Living, we're getting the word out. Like I said, I considered myself to be a fairly engaged business person when I owned my businesses here in St. Lucie County. I served on the chamber board and was the committee chairperson for a number of committees, and I just didn't understand what was available at Indian River State College in terms of business assistance. Didn't really realize it was there. And again, I stress to everyone, just like you said, whether you're a startup or whether you've been in business for multiple years and multiple generations, these are services that can help you become a better operator and owner, help you increase your margins, help you be a stronger business.
Well, our city's involved for a number of reasons, and one is to our city council, it's real important to try to do what they can, for the city to do what we can, to encourage business growth, because people want to keep jobs in Port St. Lucie rather than have to drive out of town. That's a big reason for it, and that's what the support is all about, because it's good for the city as a whole if business develops here.
That's right, and I can tell you that the city of Port St. Lucie has been very innovative in what you guys do to support new business. I believe it's your code enforcement department. One of the first activities I participated in when I took this position at the college was your code enforcement department does a regular program, How to Start a Business. Excellent program, step-by-step process on how one can start a business, kind of alerting these folks to code, rules and policies and procedures about home-based businesses, where to get the resources. I just couldn't believe, I was so impressed that a city's code enforcement department was being that proactive and supporting and actually trying to help people launch business.
Well, yes, they do a lot. They have training classes themselves, and I've heard from them some of the terrible stories that people have made the mistake of going to either buy a business or rent it or sign a lease without knowing what can go wrong through the city or what requirements there are. So it's real important to get that ahead of time, that information, before you commit to a contract and then find out you can't do it. And people have lost a lot of money.
And that's right. And you hit on really a cornerstone and a foundation of entrepreneurship. We really talk a lot about failure and making mistakes, but we talk about it in terms of the positive side of that. And I'll have people come into the incubator and they'll say, well, why do we need to write a business plan? And I'll say, because I want you to fail. And they'll look at me kind of crazy, and the point of it is, I want you to fail here. I want you to fail now. I want you to fail, while you're writing the business plan. Push the plan. Do enough research to the point of where you find the mistakes now before you launch the business. Failing is a lot less expensive and a lot easier while you're writing that plan than it is once you've rented the space and gotten yourself in problems sideways with code violations and things of that nature. So you're absolutely right. The time to research all those issues and answer all those questions is up front and early on, and that's kind of what our program allows you to do. Come in, network with other people doing the same types of things, opening businesses, learn from them, collaborate. We call it collisions. You're having collisions in the incubator. You're talking to other people doing this kind of the same thing, and there's all kinds of resources available that we can bring to the table for you.
Kind of better to fumble the ball in a scrimmage game than during a real.
I like that. I'm going to use that one. Fumble the ball in the scrimmage. That's right.
So failure. Let's talk about failure. Do most businesses fail and make it? Is there a percentage? What are the odds of being successful?
Well, 30 to 40% of all new startups fail in the first 2 years. Now, a great statistic on the other side of that is that 87% of businesses that graduate out of an incubation program are still in business 5 years later.
Oh, wow, big difference.
That's right. So there is an element of sustainability here, and that's so important, is that we're really trying to provide these people with the business acumen, the skill set that's going to allow them to be successful and allow them to be sustainable. We see it all the time in our communities. We drive by that vacancy and we drive by it, and all of a sudden one day it's rented and we go, wow, new business, it's rented. And you drive by 90 days later and it's vacant again. So there's this revolving door problem, and it's because people really launch without having that skill set, not understanding the real resources they need to stay in business and be sustainable.
And are some particular industries more difficult than others? Are restaurants more difficult?
Well, I happen to be in the restaurant business at one time. Restaurants are tough. I don't know that they're any more difficult than any startup. Startups are just tough. And of course, one of the main reasons startups fail is because lack of capital. So you've really got to understand how much money is it going to take for me to be sustainable. You've got to be in business a couple of years to build your brand and build that customer base and get people to be aware of what you're doing. So that takes capital, that takes money. And most people just don't go into business with enough capital set aside to stay in business long enough to build the business.
And is it getting tougher for things like retail, that now that people can shop online?
I absolutely, and I think that's just common across the industry. When you can buy something on Amazon and have it at your house in 2 or 3 days, and certainly pay a percentage less than that, then you're right. It's tough. It's tough competing against the big box stores. There's no doubt about that. But let's face it, what a unique and beautiful area that we live in. St. Lucie County and the city of Port St. Lucie and the city of Fort Pierce. I mean, there is opportunity out there for people to be niche players in retail, be niche players in restaurant business. But you have to do, and I can't stress this enough, got to do your homework. You've got to do the research. And that's what incubation and that's what the SBDC is all about, is forcing that person to sit down and really build that business plan.
Does the typical new business, do they go into something where that person's already worked? Maybe the person's already been in a restaurant for years, or do they just get some wild idea, I want a restaurant, and they go in there, they don't know?
Yes, I'm afraid you're right. I'm afraid people get excited about an idea and go into business in an area where they don't have what we call core competencies. And you've hit on an incredible point that we try to teach all the time. We have these 5 principles. We call them the entrepreneurial method, just like the scientific method. And the entrepreneurial method, again, involves these 5 principles. The first principle is what we call bird in the hand. And it simply means if you want to go into a business that you already know something about. Use that bird in the hand. Use the assets you may already have. It's going to increase your chances of success if you already know something about the field or the business, or you already have some experience in the business, or you already have some assets that you can, put into the business. So bird in the hand is one of those principles, and you're absolutely right. It increases one's chances of success if they already understand the industry they're going into.
Very good. There sounds like there's so much that you do out there. Do people need to have a business license first? How is it determined what businesses you work with?
No, absolutely not. That's the whole point of our program. Truly engaged at every stage. Whether you're just a startup, whether you just have an idea, we're kind of the folks that'll listen to your idea. Now, I do warn people that we tell folks that we have a fierce conversation about your business idea. You may not always like what you hear from us, but we're not. We are there to provide you with honest, candid feedback on your idea and really give you the best advice we can give you from our experience. The folks at the SBDC, that group of 9 folks, very experienced, seasoned group of former business owners and executives. You're going to get some great advice from those people. And again, sometimes it may not be what you want to hear, but maybe it's good advice at the time. Maybe your idea is not all bad. Maybe we just need to change the model a little bit, change how you're going about it. So no, you can come in with just an idea and we'll go from there. We'll have that conversation. We'll talk about where we go from there. Or again, you can come in if you've been in business a year, if you've been in business 5 years. There are all kinds of resources available. And I will tell you too, at the SBDC, there's 2 well actually 3 I should say, folks that actually have a specialty. One is government procurement specialist, Scotty Wilson. Now this gentleman can actually help an existing business get engaged in government contracts, get engaged in that space, help you walk through, bidding government contracts. Emily McHugh, she specializes in international trade. There's a program right now with the SBDC where they'll help you write a business plan plan to take your business international. And then there's Spike Schulteis, and he specializes in growth acceleration. So taking your $1 million, $2 million business and accelerating that business and growing that revenue. So there's even specialties within that group of SBDC folks.
Fantastic. So whether you're doing international business with the ports expanding, maybe you're getting a little bit more demand for that.
Right.
Or a local, you can run a local auto.
Absolutely.
To just look over the books and see.
Absolutely. And I tell folks all the time, you know, one of the big responsibilities when you own that business, and I certainly, you know, tell folks this all the time, you've really got to understand your financials. You've got to review those financials regularly. You know, people just think, well, I'll run the financial at the end of the month and then I'll review it. Well, by the end of the month, if you've had a problem, really too late to fix it. I reviewed my financials probably 2 or 3 times a day to make sure we were on track, going to meet our goals and objectives for that month. I tell folks all the time, get engaged with the SBDC just as a second look at your financials, your monthly financials. Drop them off at the end of the month. Let these folks review them. They'll start to see some trends, maybe good trends and maybe some negative trends. But you know, when you look at something over and over all the time, you kind of miss things like that. It's like in the retail business, we used to say, always get somebody else to come look at your store. You know, come in and get a fresh look at your displays and your merchandising. Because, you know, I look at it every day, so it looks good to me. So, you know, it's the same thing with financials. Let somebody look at those financials. Let somebody review those financials. And the SBDC could be the group that does that for you.
And, of course, they can trust that you're not sharing that information with anybody.
The SBDC is bound by confidentiality rules through their office. They're not a you know, show and tell type of organization. What you talk about with your SBDC consultant stays
because they are
between
your consultant.
Correct. They are your consultant. Yes, sir.
Fantastic. And all of this is not just for button-down, white-collar entities and corporate types. This is for every kind of business across the board.
It really is about small business. That's what it really is about. It's about these local small business people. Let's face it, these are the very people that they're having to do it all. You know, they're open in the morning, they're closing at night, they're washing the company cars on the weekend, they're stocking the shelves, they're doing the books, they're paying the bills, they're receipting in the money. So they're having to do everything. The SBDC really allows you to step out there and have somebody help you with that.
And spoken from a guy from the restaurant industry, I know that's an 8-day-a-week job.
It was an 8-day-a-week job, and sometimes we squeezed in a 9th somehow. But absolutely, and when I look back on my restaurant career, which I thoroughly enjoyed. We had a lot of fun running the restaurant. You know, when I look back on that, the incubator was the perfect place for me to have started that idea. But because I had so much experience running a big retail operation, you know, I kind of felt like what are you going to teach me? You know, hey, listen, I know how to run a big business. Right. I can certainly run a small one now. Right. But it was a different industry, and had I taken the time to get involved in this business incubation program, I would have been forced to have done some research. I might have examined where I was going to go, location. I might have examined some elements that I didn't really stop to examine because I had that experience. And sometimes those of us with experience get a little carried away. It's really those with experience that need this program more than those that don't sometimes. So it really was a program I should have been involved in prior to launching that restaurant. I could have met with other people. It would have really forced me to ask some questions.
Kind of bring you back down to earth. If somebody wants to know more about this fantastic program you've got going, how can they find out some more information?
Pretty simple and easy. It's www.irscbiz.com. That's IRSCBIZ.com. You can go to the webpage. All those entities that I talked about are on that page. You've got the SBDC, you've got the CCTI, and you've got the incubation, so you can click on any of those, get some information. And something else I'll tell you, if anyone goes to that site, I want you to click on that event schedule. And I promise you, I tell folks this all the time, I promise you, you will be impressed. The list of business trainings is pages long per month. And there's all kinds of no-cost training out there. How to write a business plan, how to start my business, information on sales and use tax, how to improve my company's cash flow. And those kinds of seminars and workshops are being held multiple times all over our region in all 4 counties. So I know it's tough on a small business person. You know what? You close the shop at 5 o'clock and all you want to do is go home. But you know, you got to step out there sometimes and you know, get the cup of coffee and go to a workshop. We did some workshops a couple of months ago, sponsored by one of our local lending institutions, and we actually focused those on some downtown regions. We did one of those up in downtown Fort Pierce and really tried to engage those downtown merchants. So you know, please, I encourage everyone to go to that site and look at that event schedule and click on that. And I know you'll be impressed with the listing of courses. So, and some of them are, you know, some of them are for pay. You have to pay, like our social media. Introduction to Social Media is a very popular class for us. I think it's $59. It's a 3-hour course, like a 9 to 12 in the morning. But what an eye-opener for so many businesses to understand how important social media is.
That's the modern way of advertising, spreading the word.
Right.
And it doesn't always cost much to do it.
No, it doesn't. And again, it's a way to broaden your market and broaden your customer base. You know, let's face it. We live in a big county here. You know, and if your business is in Port St. Lucie, are you effectively marketing to folks up in Fort Pierce and Lakewood Park? And if your business is in Fort Pierce, are you effectively marketing to residents of Port St. Lucie? There's a lot of folks living in Port St. Lucie. You know, this is a good market down here, and people that have good jobs and want to spend the money and want to support local business. So the internet is really a way to broaden that market for you.
Take advantage of that great tool.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate your time, Tom Kindred,
Thank you.
Entrepreneur in Residence.
Yes, sir.
At Indian River State College's
It's called the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute. Yes, it is a mouthful, but again, I tell folks all the time, it truly is a very powerful and robust you know, program that really brings a lot of resources, assistance, coaching, and mentoring to local business folks.
It's a fantastic resource for our community. We appreciate the efforts going on out there.
Sir.
I know our city council does. We want to make business grow and happen in this community.
Yes, sir.
And you're a big part of it, so
well,
thank you.
And thank you for your efforts here with Port St. Lucie Living to get the word out about these important programs. And thank you to the City Council of Port St. Lucie. Very innovative group, really supportive of small business, and we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Right.
Thanks, sir.
It's good to have you.
Yes, sir.
And we'll be back after this quick message, so stay with us.